All right, today we're doing something a little different. We're going inside the AI bubble. We've gotten a really rare peek into the private conversations that are happening right now in this, elite community of AI experts. And let me tell you, what they're actually debating is way more complicated and frankly, more urgent than what you're seeing in the headlines. So let's break it all down. I mean, listen to that. That single quote from someone in the space just perfectly nails the mood, right? On one hand, you've got this incredible, almost frenzied excitement, but underneath it all, there's this really deep anxiety about what comes next. And honestly, it's that tension, that push and pull, that really defines the whole conversation around AI today. Okay, so we're going to pull back the curtain and get into the 5 biggest debates these experts are having. We're going to start at ground level with the people actually building this stuff, and then zoom all the way out to the huge questions that are, well, going to define all of our futures. All right, first up, the reality on the ground. For anyone out there trying to build an AI product today, what is it actually like? I mean, is it really as simple as all those slick demos make it look? So the gap between the promise and the reality, it's huge. The consensus from the people actually building these tools is, yeah, the prototyping part is just mind-blowingly fast. One person in this community built a whole math tutor for his daughter in like 10 minutes. 10 minutes! But that's where the easy part stops. The real work, getting it to people, making it secure, integrating it, finding an actual market for it, that stuff is just as hard as it's always been. The big takeaway here is pretty simple. The code is actually the easy part now. Building a real, successful business, that means you have to think about the whole system. How do people get it? How do you keep it safe? And does it actually solve a problem somebody has? Okay, so let's zoom out. We're going from the individual developer all the way up to the global stage. Because the second huge debate is all about geopolitics. We're talking about the fierce, high-stakes competition for AI dominance between the world's biggest powers. And this really breaks down the different game plans. You've got the US, which is amazing at taking big risks and moving fast, but the insiders are really worried. They're worried about the reliance on debt and the fact that so much manufacturing has been outsourced, they're calling it the hollowing out of industry. And they see that as a huge long-term threat. Then you look at China, and they have this powerful, totally integrated approach. Manufacturing, culture, it's all one machine. And what about Europe? Well, Europe's strength is its deep scientific foundation. It could totally become the leader in what's called physical AI, AI that actually interacts with the real world. Think robotics, advanced manufacturing, biosciences. But, and this is a big but, only if it can get a lot faster at building new companies. Which, of course, brings us to the money. The AI boom is being fueled by just insane amounts of capital. And whenever you have that much money flying around, it introduces massive systemic risk. In fact, people are drawing direct parallels to what happened right before the 2008 financial crisis. So the big question they're all asking is, are we building ourselves up for a Minsky moment? Now, if you've never heard that term, a Minsky moment is basically when a huge party, a period of wild speculation built on a mountain of debt, suddenly comes to a crashing halt. It all just collapses. And the community sees that exact pattern playing out right now with the trillions of dollars being poured into AI data centers and infrastructure, all of it financed with really complex debt. So the debate really boils down to 2 possible endings. On one side, you have the optimistic view, which they're calling a managed deleveraging. Think back to the dot-com bust. Yeah, the bubble pops, but the big losses are basically contained inside the tech world. The rest of the economy gets bruised, but it survives. But then there's the other scenario, the terrifying one. They call it a royal Minsky. That's where the AI credit crunch doesn't stay contained. It spreads, infects the entire financial system like a virus, setting off a chain reaction that leads to a full-blown global crisis. I mean, the stakes really could not be higher. All right, let's switch gears and narrow our focus a bit. We're going to one of the most promising and honestly one of the most controversial frontiers for AI, scientific discovery, specifically biology. So is AI really about to unlock the secrets of life, or is a lot of this just really, really good marketing? And on this topic, there is a huge divide. You've got the optimists, and they point to these incredible breakthroughs like AlphaFold, right? It solved a 50-year-old problem in biology. Amazing. But then you have the skeptics, and these are often the scientists with actual hands-on lab experience. And they are super wary. They're basically saying, look, making a discovery in silico, inside a computer, is one thing, but trying to prove it in a real physical wet lab, that's a whole different ballgame. It's messy, it's expensive, and most of the time it just fails. So they're looking at all this and seeing a ton of marketing hype that's completely ignoring the hard reality of how science actually works. And that brings us to our last debate. And we're zooming all the way out now to, frankly, the biggest question of all. What does all of this technology actually mean for us, for our jobs, for our society, for the very future of work?
And what's crazy is how fast the conversation here has shifted. Just a little while ago, we were all talking about AI as a co-pilot, right? A helpful little assistant that makes us better at our jobs. But now, with these new, powerful AI agents, the conversation is all about displacement. And we're not just talking about getting rid of boring, repetitive tasks anymore. We're talking about wiping out entire entry-level, white-collar jobs. You know, the very jobs that have always been the first step for young people starting their careers.
And this is where we come full circle, right back to that haunting quote from the beginning, that feeling that there are no adults in the room. It's not just about the financial risk. It's about this profound sense that politically, societally, we are just not ready for a change this big, this fundamental.
And look, this isn't some abstract, far-off fear. The experts in this community are pointing to cold, hard data. They're looking at things like youth unemployment in the U.S., which is already creeping up towards 9%. And they are seriously worried that these AI agents are about to just automate away that crucial first rung on the career ladder. And you have to ask, if that first step disappears, what happens to an entire generation?
So here's the bottom line. What we've just walked through, these aren't just little technical debates for insiders. No, these are the huge, fundamental, unresolved questions about our economy, our security, and the very fabric of our society. And what's so telling is that even the experts, the people on the absolute bleeding edge of this tech, are grappling with all of this. And they don't have any easy answers either.
Which really just leaves us with one final thought. The people who are literally building our AI future are asking themselves these incredibly difficult questions. The real issue is, are the rest of us even ready to hear the answers? Something to think about.